Hello and welcome to the InternView, a series focused on checking in and catching up with Actors Express's interns of the past, present, and future. I am Eliott Grenier, and I am a current acting intern at Actors Express, and today I am joined by a fellow acting intern. She went to Howard University, where she got her BFA in theater arts, as well as studied at the British Academy of Drama. She was in Wrong River at Kenny Leon's True Colors, and assistant directed and directed a ton of things in the last year, including things like the 1 Minute Play Festival and many other things. She is a multifaceted person, an actor, a director, a singer, a writer, someone who I've shared some great successes with in our internship. I would like to introduce Kayla Parker. How are you doing, Parker?
Great. Thanks so much for having me. Thanks for doing this.
What got you into theater in the very busy life that you've now given yourself?
Yes, well, actually, when I was very young, I was about 7 or 8, I was enrolled in a summer camp back home. I'm originally from Birmingham, Alabama. So I was in a summer camp, and there was a short film class. And there was actually this filmmaker named Randall Crowe who came in, and he wanted to make a documentary about what kids thought about documentaries. Really cute, sweet, simple idea. And I guess I was just full of words and full of thoughts. There's this really cute clip that my mom always brings up where I'm like, I want to make movies and I want to talk about pain and unpain. And I was just, a very, very expressive child. So from there, he was really impressed with me specifically of like the rest of my peers at this summer camp. And he asked me to do another short film with him for this film festival in my hometown called the Sidewalk Film Festival. So at 8 years old, I already had 2 short films under my belt. And yeah, from there, I just, did a lot of like summer camps, and I went to a performing arts high school, the Alabama School of Fine Arts, went to Howard, and then I knew I wanted to kind of make Atlanta my home base, have family here. It's only 2 hours from home, and I really liked the theater scene here. So, the next step for me was just to look at internships and figure out like what theater I most closely align myself with, and what internship I needed to get in and what would set me up the best for my professional life here in Atlanta.
So then what was your first experience with Actors Express?
The thing that I loved about Actors Express was the directing component. All through college, I was really, really pushed towards directing. Good actress, but you could just always, my professors always said they could tell that I was like an intellectual and that like I would be thinking through the work a lot of times. And I actually had a couple experiences assistant directing in college. So I really wanted to tap into that. And Actors Express is one of the few internships that actually offered a directing track. So there wasn't like too much information about like how to get involved with that side. A lot of information about the acting side. And so my first ever experience at Actors Express was my interview where, I basically went in to audition as an acting intern and just really talked up my directing skills and my directing. Like, yeah, I love acting, but about this directing program. And I know in the past, there've been 1 or 2 directing interns, but I didn't think that it was really a big focus. Like they weren't necessarily pushing for a bunch of directing interns. So that was my first experience. And one of the things that I really loved is like during my interview, I told Freddie, like a lot of people told me in college that like I just probably should focus on directing and not so much acting. And he said, no, like I hate when people tell students that like you can do it all. You just have to put your mind towards, learning the craft. And that really stood out to me. And I was like, yeah, like I like that already before I even am a part of the company. I'm being encouraged to explore all the things, all the facets of my artistry that I'm interested in. So that was my first experience. It was a great experience. And I just really enjoyed the conversation that I had. It felt very relaxed during my interview. And I was like, yeah, I think this is where I want to be. Acting or directing, would love to do some directing, but either way. And then thankfully, Freddie extended me the invitation to do both. So
yeah. What was that like then, getting the hybrid experience? You obviously didn't do both at the same time. It was more of you had to be a flex in the internship. What was that like for you?
It was great, honestly. I think, it's funny that I talk so much about like how I really, really was pushing for directing, but I feel like in the end, I got more directing experience than acting experience. But it was really, really great. And I loved it gave me an opportunity to focus on one thing, like you said, since I wasn't doing both at the same time. I was assistant director for Skin Tight. I assistant directed Freddie Ashley for that. And then I assistant directed Danya Washington for Downstairs. So it was really a great experience to have two directing experiences back to back with two different directors, to really get to see like their personal styles and like the way that they use their rehearsal space, because they were very different, but I, could really see the pros and cons of like both structures, or like the way that they set up their rehearsal hall. And then right after that, I got to be a understudy for Joan in Fun Home. So that was a really cool experience because I had never worked on a musical before. So it was great because I felt like every show brought something new. I something new. It was a new experience because even though I, did a good deal of assistant directing, I was doing it for different directors and, for different types of plays. So I think it was a really great experience because I never felt like anything was kind of like repetitive. I never felt like, I was just sitting in the rehearsal hall bored, not learning anything. I felt like I was always engaged, and each process engaged me in such a different way that, I was always on my toes.
Was it a challenge for you to meet a bunch of new people, or was it exciting?
No, it was really exciting. It was extremely exciting because I actually kind of like took a little bit of a gap year before getting into theater when I moved down here. So graduated from Howard in 2018, moved to Atlanta shortly after, probably like August of 2018. So I had a whole year before I actually got a chance to really get my foot into the theater scene. And so walking in the door, I was extremely excited. I was excited because I really didn't have many friends here. So I was excited to like meet y'all and to like really feel like I had a family. And very soon after, our initial meeting, I felt that, we were like hanging out on the weekends and like, going to see, I remember we all went to see Head Over Heels right before our internship started. So I like very quickly felt like I had a home just within like our cohort. And then like the Actors Express staff was always just so kind and like generous, giving us comp tickets and giving us this opportunity and that opportunity. I actually got the opportunity to participate in the 1 Minute Play Festival from Freddie before I even internship. So yes, I knew like from just the minute that I stepped in the door that I had come to the right place for sure.
What was a difficulty that you faced?
Yeah. Oh man, there were so many difficulties. I think, like I said, we all know what that college experience is like, late hours and staying up working on scenes and having homework and that kind of stuff. But I think having that kind of gap year where I kind of was on my own agenda, on my own schedule, and then transitioning into such a rigorous internship, I think it was a bit of a challenge for me, especially being that I was the first director in the first show. So that means, I was of course at all of the rehearsals, whereas, some of my cohort, some of y'all, if your counterpart, main stage counterpart was not called to rehearsal that day, you didn't have to come to rehearsal that day. That didn't apply to me. And the same goes for us rehearsing for our intern shows. So there was a lot of late hours there as well. So I think getting adjusted to the schedule definitely was a challenge for me. Just pretty much all of the free time that I had gotten accustomed to was gone. And then another challenge I say specifically to directing the intern show was that, like I said, since it was the first show, I didn't really know y'all that well yet. So, it took time for me to learn how this person best receives notes, how this person best adjusts to that note, just the tone that you talk to your actors, and knowing that sometimes your actors are not going to rehearse, they're going to want to rest, So I think that was an adjustment for me as well. I think it was all just kind of like an assimilation, like us learning each other, learning the internship, learning what the time restraints and what the demands were going to be. So that was definitely challenging.
What were some specific successes or things that you thought were really moments of triumph for you?
Oh, the Skin Tight intern performance was like it's the first one that comes to mind because, like I said, I think transitioning into that and it feeling just like this challenge, like this mountain to climb to get to the end. And then like, seeing kind of some of the places where the main stage actors would kind of slip up on this one part or another. And then just knowing that, okay, that's also something that we're probably going to slip up in and kind of struggle with in our rehearsals. We had some really, really long nights. But I think in the end, I was so proud of the product that we came out with. Like, it was amazing for me to just see what we're capable of. Yeah, I think that one sticks out to me the most. Also, I'd say the brother size, just that entire process was really revolutionary for me. Eric Little, shout out to you, Eric, was such an amazing director. I mean, like, and he really took the time. He would go on lunch breaks with us and just like have conversations with us. I remember one lunch break, he took me, Caitlin, and TJ all out to lunch, and we were just talking, like just actually having a real conversation about the industry that we're trying to get into and like the Atlanta theater. And he really opened his space to all of us. It felt really like all of our rehearsal spaces. And I saw a lot in Eric specifically that like traits that I want to embody as a director. And of course, just being in a space with, like all predominantly, like Black people, telling a Black story written by a Black playwright was just really revolutionary for me, because I had never experienced something like that before. Even being at Howard, I didn't find myself really in a lot of rehearsal spaces because I was, oftentimes like working on lights or, that kind of thing. But to actually sit in a creative process with other people where, for Brother Size, I actually served as ASM, but still my voice held value in the room. And that was just revolutionary. That just changed my entire thought process, just about how theater is, about how the space is. And that was just, even though I wasn't assistant directing, I still really felt like that showed me just a completely different side of theater. So Eric, thank you for that. It was a great experience. So those were what I would say were the two high points of the internship for me.
Awesome. And so normally I would move on now to kind of like what happened when it wrapped up, but we were not so fortunate to have like a normal wrapping up. What was it like for you then when things got stopped from COVID?
I'm going to be brutally honest in here and say that I was really relieved, because like I had a unique experience of all of our intern company, because I literally worked on every single show up until COVID hit. I mean, I was even briefly scheduled to assistant direct the next show, Desire Under the Elm. So I was really just like, wow, I'm literally never going to have a break. I'm never going to have a weekend. And I was really getting burnt out. Like I said, I think the brother size and the brother size process really energized me, especially because, it was a familiar story to me. It was about just like Blackness and about queerness. So I think that really energized me. And I think that I would have probably made it through brother size, but I really think I would have started to really like lose my steam after that process. So initially I was really relieved, because like I said, I really just felt like I needed a break. I needed a breather, but that soon went away because, not a lot of people got to see the brother size, and I didn't really get to see the way that show got better. It's kind of like marinating food. It just for a while after they sit in it, it gets better. So I was disappointed that I didn't get to see that. And then also disappointed that we didn't get our intern showcase, we didn't get our agent showcase, and some of the things that seemed more like rewards for the internship, we weren't getting. So I really started to be kind of afraid. I mean, and still a little bit so about, what that means for the future of my career here. But I know Actors Express is going to make sure those things happen for us. So I'm not too worried about it. But, it does just kind of leave you wondering, like, we were in this place of like learning and almost ready to really get out there into the professional world, and everything just kind of stopped. So a little disheartening, a little scary, but at the same time, I also acknowledge what a great position this puts us all in. Because I mean, there's plenty of time to work on monologues. There's plenty of time to read plays. There's plenty of time to research the theaters and reach out to people. So, I think it's kind of it's a blessing and a curse for sure.
It feels like you almost have to have that indomitable spirit, right? Where you could lose that spark if you don't keep it going. What was it that kept you going? What was the thing that got you excited? I know you're working on a ton of projects right now, and I'd love to hear about some of them.
Yes. Well, I think, COVID, along with, quite frankly, the slaughter of African Americans in this country, has really given me the inspiration to keep going, to keep writing, to keep exploring, to keep digging. I went to a couple protests, decided, hey, protesting might not be for me. It might not be for me. But I do believe that there are other ways that I can use the gifts that God has given me to, promote social change. So I've really just been trying to tap into how I make a difference. What is my place in the movement? What am I supposed to be doing? How can I use more than just my body in the form of protesting to actually make a difference? So I've spent a lot of time investing in that, doing interviews with people who have been protesting and trying to make sure those stories are getting told. I'm working on a project with a theater in DC, and I'm currently writing a play for them, as well as working on a children's series. It's called Talk and Walk with Out of Hand Theater.
Yeah.
Really excited about that. That should be finishing up very, very soon. And that's just to be a tool for parents to use in talking to their children about social justice and social justice reform, because I think it's important that we are not just focusing on policies. Like, I mean, that's great, but you have to start at home. You have to start where it's close to the vest, and the next generation is coming after us, so we can fight, but we still have another generation that we have to instill the same values into. So I'm really excited about that project, and I'm also working on just a personal project, just like a play of monologues that just detailing what my experience has been like, because I think it has been very exhausting going through this period of time, like you said, not knowing, where the next job is going to come from, because I was also laid off from work, so I have like abundance of time. So I found myself feeling a little bit of guilt, like, oh, I'm not creating, I should be creating, and oh, I'm not getting the product that I want from this play, and getting really frustrated with myself. But I think it's been a great process to just learn the full gamut of what the creative experience is like. We're not always going to feel like writing. We're not always going to feel like doing a monologue or reading a play. We're not always going to feel like it. But just knowing that there are other ways that we can use our voice and our time and our power. So, it's been a very interesting journey exploring that. And I think that this is honestly the beginning of the rest of my life, truly. Just learning how to push myself, but give myself breaks and to give myself grace, which I think is really hard for us right now, because we're just like, we have to make money. We have to figure out where the next thing's coming from. We have to. But I also have learned that I put a lot of conditions on myself. And I think that we as artists put a lot of conditions on ourselves. So I've been trying to just explore, how to do these projects that bring me joy, that make me feel like I'm making a difference in the world. Taking time to do personal projects. I mean, even if it's just like a journal entry, just simple things to keep me moving forward. I bought a prompt book with 300 writing prompts. Just do a prompt a day to just keep my brain active, to keep me moving. Also suggest the Artist Way workbook. It's a great tool to just kind of like keep you moving forward. But there's all these tools and resources that are out there for us to use. I think just the first step is, one, give yourself grace. If you want to lay in bed, lay in bed. It's okay. It's okay to give yourself that grace. But once you're done, just know that there's still work that has to be done, and still work that you can do to push forward the fight. So
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Parker, for your time. And now, since we're towards the end, I'd like to give you the opportunity to say any parting words, and they can be about any topic that you feel is important to you.
I just really want to reiterate what I just said, that, it's a really hard time for creatives, especially for us in this industry. I think that we're probably one of the industries that is getting hit the hardest, aside from, like, of course, the medical industry and that kind of thing, because nobody's going to be going to see plays for a while. I mean, I could say that with confidence. But just not to lose hope. I think that really right now, storytellers and us as artists, we're literally carrying the world. We're getting the world through, because, there are people who, work these long medical shifts and they come home and watch Netflix, or they are listening to music, or they're doing something. So I know it's easy to get disheartened when we don't have contracts and we're not working gigs. But just a reminder that, artists are leading the way. Like, we're carrying people, we're keeping mental health up, and just to give yourself grace, because we are going through a global pandemic right now. So give yourself grace, but don't stop creating. Just keep pushing, and together we are going to get through this.
Thank you so much, Parker. And I know as someone who has inspired me both in person doing shows and then also watching Talk and Walk and seeing all of your work, I really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you so much for having me, Eliott. Love you.